festive month, across cultures in India and especially for the devotees. So I think what we're going to do today is we're just going to do like a synopsis really of the various festivals associated with Krishna in this month. And we'll try to quickly understand a little bit about those festivals, a little bit about, the Leela behind these festivals. And we will try to understand how, as devotees, we can somehow, you know, celebrate these festivals. Now, celebrating a festival has, yes, there is some amount of ritual associated with it. There is some amount of, what we can do around the festival. But most importantly, the festival also, any festival for that matter, is intended to also, um, you know, create some sort of enthusiasm within our hearts to become more devoted to Krishna. That is the whole point. Um, the word Sanskrit word utsav really finds its derivation from utsaha or enthusiasm. So, if we really understand these festivals and the Leela behind them, uh, then the hope is that it'll help us become more Krishna conscious and more enthusiastic about Krishna consciousness and about Krishna. So that's really the context of today's class. Vijay Madhaprabhu, is that about right? Is that what we're expecting from today's talk?
Yeah, you can touch upon different festivals, and if you want to get into one of the pastimes, you can for sure.
So we've discussed Damodar Leela already, I'm guessing. I mean, I've heard that class, a very, very nectarian class on Damodar Leela. I don't have a presentation, but I was thinking maybe we can do Govardhan Lila a little bit more in detail, if that's okay.
Sure, sure.
Have you already discussed that in our forum?
No, not in detail. I mean, in general, people would have heard Govardhan Lila, but you can describe it.
Hmm. Okay, great, great. So let's start with the beginning of Kartik. Let's quickly talk about some of the festivals in the beginning of Kartik, and we'll arrive at Deepdan and Govardhan Puja right after that. So the very first festival, Kartik, really begins from Sharad Purnima. So different people celebrate it. Some people celebrate from Ekadashi, others from Purnima. So Sharad Purnima is the very beginning of Kartik. I'm not sure if Vijay Prabhu shared darshan with you, but really the core significance of Sharad Purnima is that this is the day of the full moon night in Bhagavatam. It's described when Krishna and the gopis conducted their rasa dance. So it's the full moon is also considered this day to be the most at its most brightest. Um, and in fact, we have observed personally, even in Bombay, even in today in Kali Yuga, the moon is quite bright actually on this day. And so on this day, most temples in Vṛndāvana and even in Juhu we do this, and you see it in a lot of ISKCON temples also. We specifically to celebrate that moonlit night, to create that mood that Krishna and the gopis and Krishna and Radharani are dancing in the moonlight. We dress the deities in white clothing, and we decorate the entire temple with white flowers and white garlands and such white decorations. I'm sure a lot of us have seen those pictures, right, from different temples in Vrindavan on Sharad Purnima, special darshan. So it's a very, very beautiful festival where devotees do kirtan and we sort of meditate on the pastimes of the Rasa Leela and how Krishna was able to expand himself into so many different forms and reciprocate with each of the gopis individually. It's very heartening for us as devotees because it it tells us that no matter how many of us there are, and there are so many Vaishnavas in this world, right? Krishna can reciprocate with each of us individually. Krishna can reciprocate with us one on one. We've all seen that very famous painting, or many paintings where there's one Krishna and one gopi, and one Krishna and one gopi, and they're all dancing, and each gopi really thinks that Krishna is only dancing with her. Um, Krishna can do that. He's most wonderful, and he is most he's Yogeshwara. Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita and several other places. He's um, he's described as Yogeshwara. So the word Yogeshwara um, very specifically points out to him being the master of yogas. It doesn't mean that he conducts a class on cult fit on yoga. I mean, he could. He's the master of physical yoga as well. But yoga specifically, when Krishna being called Yogeshwara, he specifically also, it's being referred to him being the master of mystic yoga, magical yogas. Yoga, the word also means coming together. So when Krishna is being called Yogeshwara, he's also very expert at coming together with his devotees. So, you know, it's very interesting actually for people who are interested to learn Sanskrit. Perhaps they should. It's a really wonderful language to delve into because it is what is known as the Sutratmak language. So I'm not sure how many of you have heard the word sutra, but essentially it means that in one small little package of words, a lot of meaning can be packed in. So that's a sutra. And in Shastras also there are different sutras. Like there's a Narad Bhakti Sutra, for example. Um, Sutra is basically a very succinct way of saying something, but packing a lot of meaning into it. So because Sanskrit is a very Sutratmak language, the words in Sanskrit used to describe Krishna are also that very Sutratmak. So in one word, like Yogeshwara, for example, there are these multiple layers of meaning that are packed in. Anyways, the point is that Krishna is Yogeshwara. So because he is completely magical, completely mystical, he can associate and reciprocate with each of us as devotees individually, um, and make us feel that he is completely only with us and no one else, and that he is completely focused on us, um, to the extent that as we're trying to be devotees, it's important for us that we become humble, that we understand that Krishna is the master of the universe, and we are small parts and parcel of that universe, and our job is to serve Krishna. That's one understanding of it. Or is the audio input really that bad?
Yeah, just check if you can spotlight search input volume and find sound under system preferences.
I'm able to hear very clearly.
Others are able to hear clearly.
Sorry, what's
Yeah, I could hear very.
Okay. Is it loud enough?
Yes, we can hear you. Yes, Prabhu, it's clear.
Okay. Sorry to disturb you. I think
Vijay, check your output volume. There's something wrong there. Just try to increase the output volume.
it's full at my end. Okay, go on. Sorry.
Right. So, like I was saying, Krishna is, so as devotees, when you're trying to become devotees, our mood should be humble. It should be that, I am insignificant, I am not that important, and therefore I should do my service and I should expect not that much in return. That's one aspect of it, and that's a great attitude to have. But Krishna is very kind. We must remember that. And for his devotees, he is able to reciprocate with them in such a manner that they feel like they're the center of Krishna's universe. And while that might seem like a very, very far-fetched space for us to be right now, because we can't even imagine it, because as we are trying to get into bhakti, as we are trying to do our japa, as we are trying to do our sadhana, as we are trying to do, the umpteen number of things that we have to do to balance our spiritual and material life. And I'm sure we all struggle with it. I know people who've been practicing for a very long time are also struggling with this fine balance of, our family and household responsibilities and our devotion to Krishna. It's not easy. But even as we do this and we try to remain humble in the process, and we wait for Krishna's mercy, we wait for Krishna's reciprocation, festivals like Sharad Purnima can remind us that Krishna is very kind, he is very merciful, and that he is completely capable of reciprocating with us in such a manner that we feel like we are the center of Krishna's universe. That is how wonderful Krishna is. I don't know how many of you are going to Vṛndāvana. I know Vijay Madhav and Harshita Madhavi are going, but I'm not sure how many other devotees are going with them. But I think Vṛndāvana is that place, where you can truly experience the pastimes of Krishna, and you can really begin to understand the nature of Krishna and who he is and how he reciprocates with his different devotees. Um, if there was ever a reason to be attracted to Krishna, I think that would be the reason, at least for me personally. Um, and there are many reasons to be attracted to Krishna and to serve him and to surrender unto him. And as you've studied the Bhagavad Gita, I'm sure you understand all these reasons in great detail and depth. But to me personally, I think if someone was to ask me why Krishna, and I had to say it in one word, I would say Lila Purushottam. And I will take the next few minutes to explain to you what that means if you haven't already heard it. If I'm being repetitive, because see, I'm not participating in this class on a regular basis. So if there are any concepts, anything I'm saying that's repetitive, please raise your hand or please just type me a message. So then I won't spend that much time on it. But as we get into understanding Krishna Lila, I think one of the most important things to remember is that Krishna is Lila Purushottam. What that means is that Krishna, with being God, with being, you know, the universal form of the God of God that Arjun has seen in the Bhagavad Gita. More importantly, Krishna is also Lila Purushottam, which means that his most wonderful quality is how he does his pastimes or his Leela. So Leela in English is translated as pastime. How he does these pastimes with his devotees. That's the most wonderful quality of Krishna, actually. And therefore, when one reads Srimad Bhagavatam, when one reads Krishna book, when one hears the pastimes of Krishna, it really tells us the perks of being a devotee. So I don't know how many of you, either go to work or have shifted jobs or have done that. There's a website called glassdoor.com, where you can go and Google companies and organizations and how they, different employees leave their reviews there, and companies are rated on the basis of these reviews. So there are some reviews where some companies are really praised for their human employee, like their human resource sensibility and the fact that the workload is less and there's things like that. And there are organizations, that everyone's sort of bashing because, they're really terrible places to work at and, things like that. I like to believe that the Srimad Bhagavatam and the Krishna book specifically within the Srimad Bhagavatam, the 10th canto, is Krishna's Glassdoor review by his devotees. So when you look at the Glassdoor review and you look at Srimad Bhagavatam, you realize how Krishna has so wonderfully reciprocated with each and every one of the Brajavasis. When you look at that, when you read that, it gives you hope that perhaps if I can become a devotee, if I can in some way be sincere in my spiritual life, perhaps Krishna would also, treat me the way he treated Brajavasis. And that's a really fantastic thing, honestly. In spiritual life, or in any real pursuit, there's the pursuit and then there is, the means and the end. The end for us, if you will, in spiritual life as Vaishnavas and as Bhakti Marga Vaishnavas, as Gaudiya Vaishnavas, it's that we will become one of Krishna's associates. It sounds very, very lofty at this point, honestly, because we're all very aware of our everyday struggles to even finish our basic spiritual activity. More importantly, we are even struggling to maintain a Krishna conscious perspective in our daily life. It's very challenging. But we also know that Krishna is very kind, and we also know that the opportunity, if we can somehow manage through this, if we can somehow with determination continue as devotees, is that we will get the opportunity to associate with Krishna eternally the way he associates with his devotees. And that's really fantastic. That I think is a reason as good as any to join Krishna Inc. I mean, it's fantastic, and therefore I would urge everyone to spend whatever is left of the Kartik month to try to understand Krishna better, to try to read the Krishna book, and to really notice the finesse in the Srimad Bhagavatam and in the Krishna book of how Krishna associates with his various devotees, because it's really wonderful. And this Kartik month is also wonderful because Krishna has reciprocated and associated with many of his devotees in different pastimes. So we start with Sharad Purnima, where he reciprocates specifically with Radharani and the gopis. where he is able to give each of them his undivided attention. So there, I mean, that's something that I'm sure all of us would want, that Krishna can give us his undivided attention and make each of us feel like we are the center of his universe. Krishna can do that. So that's Sharad Purnima. Then as the month progresses on, we come to Tat Purnima, that's day 1. Then there is Bahulashtami, which is day 8. So this is the day that a Radha Kund festival is celebrated in Braj. So we will take a few minutes to talk about Radha Kund. Have we talked about Radha Kund, Vijayanath Prabhu? We haven't. Okay. So I don't know where to start. There is so much actually. I was initially concerned. I was saying Vijayanath Prabhu that the time slot is too large. I don't think I can fill it up because there is not that much to speak. But now that I'm speaking, I realize there is a whole lot to say in very little time, because the topic we're talking about is so glorious actually that no amount of time or words is enough to fulfill it. But we will try, with the mercy of the devotees, to try to cover. So on Bahula Ashtami day, Ashtami is 8th. So on the 8th day of the Kartik Mass, we celebrate Bahula Ashtami, which is we celebrate Radha Kund. And this just happened yesterday, in fact. And again, lots of pictures came online. For those who are slightly still paranoid about COVID, it's very scary, those pictures. But if you can for a minute move on from there, these are also very heartening pictures of devotees coming together to celebrate Radha Kund. So what is Radha Kund? I would like to talk about a pastime of Krishna in Braj, where this demon called Arishtasur was sent by Kamsa to kill Krishna. So I'm sure a lot of you already know this background, but basically Krishna was in Vṛndāvana and Kamsa was the king in Mathura, his own uncle, in fact, Krishna's own uncle. We all have evil relatives, but I think Krishna won the cake on that as well. He had one of the most evil relatives possible. So this evil mama of his wanted to kill Krishna because there was a bhavishyavani, there was a prophecy that said that Krishna would kill Kamsa. So Kamsa thought that before Krishna gets me, let me kill him. So he sent his whole group of different demons, different cronies to kill Krishna. One of those cronies was Arishtasur. Arishtasur was in the form of a bull. Very interesting that Kans chose this particular demon in this particular form of this demon because Krishna is known to be a cowherd boy. He is known as Gopal, right? So if he's a cowherd boy, he's not going to really harm a cow or a bull for that matter, right? He's not supposed to. Our entire movement is based on cow protection and worshipping the cows, in fact. So how could Arishtasur be killed? So it was a very smart move. So Kans sent Arishtasur, who came wild and started charging towards Krishna, with his horns, hoping to sort of engage with Krishna and then just sort of throw him over and maybe trample over him and kill him. Krishna, after all, is only a young boy, very delicate, and not particularly strong looking. If you were to read the descriptions of Krishna's body, it's not like he's he doesn't really have one of those athletic football bodies. He's really he's not chunky or chubby or anything, but he's not particularly muscular either. He's a pampered young boy who eats butter as a pastime. So you can imagine that he's slightly he's not the kind of person you would think of as a wrestler really, or as someone who's very strong. So Arishtasur thought it would be very easy to just engage with him and then flip him over and then just run over him and kill him. That was the idea. But when Arishtasur charged towards Krishna just held him by the horns and then twirled him and then just flung him really, and that was the end of Arishtasur. Now, by doing this, Krishna basically did Gohatya. He killed a cow or a bull, and that is a very, very, I think, it is one of the most heinous sins in Vedic culture. In Vaishnavism, it is one of the most heinous sins that can possibly be. And our Shastras talk about how really when one engages in Gohatya, or when one does Gohatya, or contributes to it in some way, even if you're not engaging in it, we're just contributing to it. So like if you're literally just even buying French fries from McDonald's, you're really contributing to Gohatya. I'm not kidding. It's so if anyone's doing that, please stop. Stop being out in general, but like specifically at these places that are, you know, promoting cow killing in a very, very large way. Stop that now, because for your spiritual life, there can be nothing more harmful than this to do. You may be doing everything right, but if you're unknowingly contributing to Gohatya, you need to set that right. That's part of us as devotees. While Krishna is very kind and merciful, as devotees, it's important for us to have that kind of discernment to know what we are doing and what is the impact of that. So anyhow, we can have a separate entire class on cow protection and how we can do it in our daily lives later. But fundamentally, it's one of the biggest aparadhs there is, right? And if one engages in the aparadh, if one is engaged in killing a cow, then you're really considered to be the kind of person that no one would want to associate with. And especially in a cowherd community, which is Krishna's community, the community of cowherds, really no one would want to associate with you at all. People would want to maintain their distance from you because you're a cow killer. Okay, so I'm not, again, I have the impetus to speak a little more on this specifically. Why is it such a big problem? It's such a big problem because fundamentally I'm not getting into very great detail, but it shows how ungrateful you are as a person fundamentally, right? If you're a cow killer, you're an absolute ungrateful wretch because you have this wonderful animal that is giving you everything that is required for sustenance. If you went to a nutritionist today also, they would tell you that milk is a very wholesome food, that it has all the various nutrients that it could possibly have. And the cow is able to give you this very lovingly without really that much of, they're happy to do this. They're very caring creatures in general. That cow milk becomes dahi, it becomes ghee. It helps you light lamps in your home. It helps you cook. It helps you eat. There's paneer that comes out of it. When the cow dies, then there is cow leather that can be used. So ahimsa leather is something that was accepted in society in the past. So these are very wonderful, loving animals. The cow is considered the mother in Srimad Bhagavatam. There's a word that there are 7 mothers. One of those mothers is the cow because you're drinking its milk, right? If you're going to kill a cow or you're going to kill a bull, you must be really, really wretched and ungrateful. It's clear. There is no question of that. So if you're a wretched person who is that ungrateful, who would want to keep a relationship with you? Imagine if you were to, on Diwali, send, expensive Kaju Katli boxes to these friends of yours who you thought were friends, and they didn't so much as send you a forwarded WhatsApp message to wish you happy Diwali. Wouldn't you feel bad? I'm sure you'd feel terrible and you'd think, "Arey yaar, in log ke saath dosti rakhna hi nahi chahiye. These are absolutely ungrateful people." Now, that's just one Diwali box and one wish. Cows are giving us way more, and if someone's going to kill a cow, especially someone who's from a cow herding community like Krishna, who is going to kill a cow or a bull, he must be absolutely ungrateful. So no one really wants to associate with him, and that's what happened. Krishna wanted to have, he wanted to meet the gopis and spend some time with them in Govardhan Hill. And the gopi said, "Listen, we can't even talk to you. We don't want anything to do with you because you're completely, you have this aparadh. You connect this aparadh of killing a bull, and now we want nothing to do with you because you're completely impure. You need to do something to purify this offense. You need to nullify this offense. Otherwise, we don't want anything to do with you because otherwise we will also be party to this whole cow killing nonsense that you're into." So then Krishna was very upset. He said, "Okay, now what do I do?" So then he said, "Okay, I'm going to create I'm going to create a kund here. I'm going to create a bathing place where I'm going to invite all the various rivers from from different places, different tirthas basically. So the Ganga, the Kaveri, the Sindhu. I'm going to invite these rivers here, and I'm going to then take a bath, and therefore by some way I will nullify the offense of having killed a cow. This is not for us to imitate, that we'll kill cows and then we'll go take baths. That's not going to work. In past times, this is happening because it is an exception, right? Krishna killed a demon really, who was appearing as a cow. So either way, so Krishna used his flute to poke a hole in the ground, and because, like I said, he's Yogeshwar, he's completely magical. He was able to invite all the various holy rivers to come into that place and fill it up. And he took a bath there, and by taking a bath there, he was completely purified. So that kund that he created, that's called Sham Kund, Sham Sundar, Sham Kund. And in Govardhan, Sham Kund is still there. If you're going to Vṛndāvana, please go have darshan there. It's wonderful. So that's Sham Kund there. So now Krishna took bath, and then he said, okay, I'm purified now. But then he told the gopis, he told Radharani and the gopis that, that actually I killed Arishtasur, and now I'm purified. But you were the ones who were scared, and you were the ones who were, calling out for help, and you were the one who were saying, "Hey, why didn't you kill this demon? Why didn't you kill this demon?" So you were also party to this whole, cow killing pastime. So now I am purified because I've taken a bath in this wonderful Krishna Kund, Sham Kund that has all these various, rivers have been invited there. But you're completely impure, and I don't want anything to do with you now. So you also need to take a bath in something of this sort. So then Radharani and the gopis were very perplexed because they want to spend time with Krishna. They want to associate with him. And now, Krishna's pulling a fast one on them, and he's telling them that he can't do this. So then the gopis decide, no problem. And then Krishna says, you can also take bath in the Sham Kund if you want. But again, as you read Bhagavatam and as you read more Shastra, you will realize that every person has their own nature, right? So Radharani and the Sakhi's nature is a little bit, they're a little hot-tempered slightly. They want to take no favors from Krishna. So there's a little feminism going on there. For all those who think that our Shastra has no feminism, there's a feminism going on there where Radharani says, listen, I don't want these favors from you. We're completely capable of digging our own kund and taking a bath. And so Radharani and the gopis, they form this long line. So there's this wonderful place in Govardhan called Manasi Ganga. That is another wonderful story. I don't think I'm going to get into it now. But what we should understand, for the sake of our understanding of this pastime, is that Manasi Ganga is a kund that has the water that is equivalent to the Ganges. So if you've come to Raj and you want to take a Ganga bath, and you don't want to go all the way to Haridwar, you can go to Manasi Ganga and take a bath, and that is as good as taking a bath in Ganga. And Vijay Prabhu, please do tell the devotees the Manasi Ganga pastime at another time, because it's a very wonderful pastime. But anyhow, so the gopis said that, what, Ganga is the most purest of all rivers, and it's only nearby from here. So we will make a human chain from Govardhan, where they were, to Manasi Ganga, which is another place in Govardhan. They made a human chain, and then we're going to fill up a kund with Manasi Ganga water, and then we'll take a bath there, and that will be good. And some of the gopis, and what they did was they took off their bangles, and with their bangle they used it as an instrument to start digging. So some gopis were digging a little small kund, and another whole long human chain of gopis took their matkas that were used to collect dahi and milk. They used those matkas to fill water from the Manasi Ganga and then hand it over to the next gopi till it came and began to fill this kund that was formed. This kund is called Kangan Kund, right? So Kangan Kund, because it has been dug by the Kangan of the gopis. There is a Kangan Kund, and there is devotees bringing these gopis who are bringing Manasi Ganga water to fill this Kangan Kund for Radharani, and they can take bath in it and be purified. So this is happening, but digging kunds is not easy. If anyone has tried to dig using a shovel, it's not easy. To use kangans to dig kunds is really not easy. It's pretty challenging. And when you go to Vṛndāvana, you will realize that Manasi Ganga and Radha Kund actually are pretty far away. They're not that close by. So after a little bit of effort, Radharani and the gopis began to get a little tired. They were beginning to, feel exhausted because there was so much water that needed to be passed on from Mansi Ganga to Kangan Kund that they were getting exhausted. And then Krishna, out of his love for Radharani and out of his love for, the gopis, he said, you know what, why are you doing this? This is not required. You're so tired and you're so, um, you're really tired. So why don't you let me, I have this Krishna Kund, this wonderful Sham Kund here. Why don't you just let me fill that water into the Radha Kund as well, which is right next door. It's literally just associated with each other. Why don't you let me do that? And then you can take bath in that. You will also be purified. So the gopis finally agreed. Radharani finally agreed, saying, okay, fine, you can, this is fine. And so Krishna, he invoked the water from Sham Kund to come and fill up this Kangan Kund. What began to then be known as Radha Kund, because Krishna sort of created this for Srimati Radharani out of his love for her. So therefore, this Radha Kund is got filled up, and the gopis took bath in it. Srimati Radharani personally took bath in it, and thereby, they were also, the offense was nullified, and then they could do their pastimes together. But this Kund is called Radha Kund. It is basically Radharani Sharanamrit. Radharani, as we know, she is the most exalted devotee of Krishna. She's the most wonderful guru for anyone who wants to do bhakti. So therefore, typically in spiritual life, the guru's charnamrit is considered to be nectar. It is considered to have properties that will enable one to become more advanced in bhakti. It is considered to be most purifying. So Srimati Radharani is the guru for all those people who want to be bhakt, because she is the biggest bhakt of Krishna. And the Radha Kund is her charnamrit, and therefore it is very, very exalted and holy. And on Bahulashtami day, it is celebrated as the day to worship Radha Kund in Govardhan. So a lot of people come to Govardhan and they light lamps around Radha Kund. So it's a really beautiful sight. It's thousands and thousands of lamps around Radha Kund. And then people take a bath. And so the people are taking bath. All of yesterday, they were taking bath in Radha Kund. And it's a really wonderful festival in Braj. So this worship of Shri Radha Kund on Bahulashtami day is conducted on the Ashtami day. I'm not getting into the details of each of these pastimes because there's a lot more to go, but so that's the second festival we celebrate. So we do Sharad Purnima, and then it comes to Bahulashtami, and then once Bahulashtami is done, there is Ekadashi 2 days after. So Monday is Ekadashi in Bombay. They have Ekadashi as well. And because it's Ekadashi of the Kartik month, which is most dear to Krishna, a lot of devotees try to do some extra austerity on this Ekadashi. Some people, fast more strictly. So they will only, they'll probably do a Nirjal fast, but they will not drink water. So that's something that some devotees do. Other devotees take the vow of chanting more rounds. So some devotees, they try to chant 32 or 64 rounds on Kartik Ekadashi because they want to do more spiritual activity. So that's the next festival. And right after that, the days of Diwali start. So in the days of Diwali, there are 2-3 pastimes that have happened that are very wonderful, and we will talk about those now. So, I mean, of course, the Diwali time itself is so many different pastimes, not just associated with Krishna, but others as well, that we could do a whole series on that, but we will focus specifically on Krishna Lila. And therefore, on the Amavasya day, so there's the Ekadashi, and then 4 days after that, there is Amavasya. So on the Amavasya day, there is the Diwali day on which the Damodar Lila pastime happened. So the Damodar Lila pastime, I was hearing Hari Prashapu's class, and he was talking about how Mother Yashoda decided to, churn butter for Krishna because she was very anxious that he's stealing butter from other people's houses. Now, if a king's son is going to go out stealing food from other people's houses, it's a little embarrassing, obviously. So Yashoda Maya was very embarrassed that Krishna's, all these complaints are coming of this young boy stealing butter from other people's houses, and she was trying to think, why is he doing this? Krishna's of course doing this because, all the gopis want that Krishna should eat things that they have made. So he's reciprocating because, like I said, Krishna's Lila Purushottam. He likes to have pastimes with his devotees. So while externally the gopis are very upset that Krishna is stealing from their house, internally they're very happy because they feel great joy that Krishna has chosen to eat butter that they have themselves made. So that reciprocation is going on. But externally, of course, they have to complain. So they come to Mother Yashoda and complain, and Mother Yashoda gets very upset because, how can at a king's house there not be good butter that the prince has to go steal from other people's houses? It's quite embarrassing. So Nand Maharaj is the king of Braj, and Yashoda Maya, known as Yashoda Rani, she is the queen. But she begins to think that maybe because I'm the queen and because all these other maidservants are doing all the butter churning, they're probably not doing a good job. They don't really know how to do it. And I'm sure we see this in our own house as well, where once in a while, the lady of the house will decide that she will do it herself because no one knows how to do it really well. So Mother Yashoda decides that, okay, I'm going to make butter myself. And so then that entire pastime happens. She makes the butter herself. And then, Krishna, of course, gets upset. He breaks the pot. He runs away. Then he gets tied up. That pastime happened on Diwali day. Now, what's wonderful is in the Bhagavatam, it's mentioned that actually on that day when Mother Yashoda was churning the butter herself, all the other gopis were busy doing preparations for Deepamalika festival, for Diwali, but they were also preparing for this puja called the Indra puja. So in Braj, in the time that is on Diwali day, there was this big puja that was held, which is called Indra puja. So Indra puja was conducted because Indra is the god of rain, and this community of Brajavasis, it's a community of farmers, of cowherds, and to them the rain is critical because if the rain doesn't happen, there is no crop, there is no grass, the kunds are not full, and therefore then the cows will starve. So to thank Indra, every year they were conducting this very grand Indra puja. So what would happen is all the different houses in Braj would make wonderful foodstuffs, and they would make very nice grain preparations. They would make and then they would offer all of that as offerings to Indra and then worship him. So that was a festival, and there would be a big yagya to offer all these palatable items into the yagya as a bali, as an offering. So this was happening, and so when Krishna was 8 years old, he wakes up one morning and he sees that there's a lot of hustle and bustle going on. So as you all seen in any festival, there's always a lot of noise, a lot of movement. If you haven't seen that, you should come to the ISKCON Juhu temple before any festival, and I will introduce you to this kind of absolute chaos that is going on. It's structured chaos, of course. Everyone knows what they're doing, but they're all doing it at the same time, and so there's a lot of stuff going on, and it's actually great fun, to be honest. Personally, as someone who enjoys festivals a lot, I enjoy that structured chaos. But so Krishna woke up on the morning of Indra Puja, which is the next day of Diwali, and he sees there's a lot of like structured chaos going on. People are running hither, they're carrying big baskets of puris. Mother Yashoda, Mother Rohini, they're in the kitchen cooking. There's 100 maid servants running around with different items. There's a lot going on. And so Krishna goes to Mother Yashoda and says, can you please give me something to eat? All these nice foodstuffs are there. Can I have something to eat, please? So she says, no, go away. This is not for you. Please go away. And Krishna gets very upset because, I mean, this has already happened with him once when he was a baby, when Mother Yashoda left him and went and, looked after a pot of boiling milk. This is happening again on the same day, where he's come to ask for something to eat. And there's so many nice preparations. Any child would want to try, it happens. I'm sure even today, when we make bhog at home and there are children, it becomes a little challenging sometimes because, they want to eat what is being made before offering to Krishna. So So, anyways, Krishna was very upset. So he goes to Nanda Maharaj and he says, Baba, what is going on? What's this? What is this big festival everyone's preparing for? You know, I see that everyone's running around. Lots of food is being made, and what is going on? And when I asked Mother Yashoda to eat something, he's also complaining. By the way, Krishna. It's also Krishna's nature. He's a little, he needs to get what he wants. So if he doesn't get it from the mother, he'll go to the father. Children in today's day also, I think they have that quality. If they don't get it from one person, they will go to the other person, and so on and so forth. So, Krishna knows that Nand Maharaj will probably be more merciful to me. So he goes to Nand Maharaj and says, Baba, what is going on? What is this festival? Please tell me. And, I'm not even getting anything to eat in this house. So so he's a little indignated also, Krishna. So Rohini, who is Balarāma's mother, she's nearby. So she calls Krishna closer. She says, okay, come, come, come. She hugs him. She gives him something to eat also. She gives him a little milk. So he calms down. But then again, Krishna asks Nanda Maharaj, what is going on? So Nanda Maharaj is very happy that now Krishna is 8 years old, and he's asking all these questions, and he's taking interest in something more than string butter. So it's a very happy and proud moment for Nanda Maharaj. So he explains that we do this Indra Puja every year, and we do Indra Puja because it is we are Vaishyas, we are farmer community, we are cowherding community, and to us the rain is important. We thank Indra every year for the rain by doing this offering. So then Krishna says, and this is now a very strong philosophical point Krishna makes, which is Krishna also makes in Bhagavad Gita, which you would have, I'm sure, already read. Krishna says to Nand Maharaj that actually you don't need to do this. The rain coming and going, that is cyclical, it is seasonal. We don't need to worship somebody else for that. The rain will come anyways. So Indra isn't really doing anything out of turn for us. He's just doing what he does, what he's supposed to do, what Vidhata has tasked him to do. He is the rain god. His only job is to make sure that seasonally rain is falling. And if he's doing that, he's only really doing his job. It's not, he doesn't get a 1+ star rating for it. He's doing his job. So Nand Maharaj is a little nervous about this because they've been doing this for a very long time. They can't suddenly stop this sacrifice. So Nanda Maharaj then calls his elder brothers, Upananda and everybody else. They all come and this discussion happens. And Krishna, 8-year-old, in front of all these older, 40, 50, 60-year-old men is making this point, saying that, we don't need to do this. We should actually worship Govardhan Hill. So Govardhan Hill is actually the personality who needs to be worshipped, because that is Vishnu himself incarnated as this hill. And we know this because Vishnu is the maintainer. These are all Krishna's words. He's saying this. He says, Vishnu is the maintainer. And just like Vishnu maintains his entire universe, this Govardhan Hill is actually maintaining us. Because on this Govardhan Hill, our cows are walking and they're eating the grass on it. There are minerals in Govardhan Hill. There are gemstones in Govardhan Hill that we're taking and we're wearing. There are these beautiful caves in Govardhan Hill where we can go and hide and take shelter on a rainy day, on a sunny day. There are wonderful streams in Govardhan Hill that one can drink fresh water from, that the cows are drinking water from. So Govardhan Hill is all wonderful, all absolute. It is actually not Indra who's maintaining us. That's just the weather, really. It's Govardhan Hill that is maintaining us. So let us do this puja for Govardhan Hill. By doing this, Krishna is establishing a very strong philosophical point. Srila Prabhupada writes in his purports, he quotes the Bhagavad Gita and he says that Krishna, like he has said in the Bhagavad Gita, that it is only the unintelligent people who worship the demigods to get things that were already in their karma anyways. So if it had to rain, it would rain one way or the other. You don't need to specifically worship Indra. Similarly, we worship demigods for happiness, for some sort of, specific desires. I know that in South India, there are some temples. There's one temple I know specifically, which I found quite odd. I think he's called a Visa Hanuman. So if people need to get the US visa, which is a very challenging thing to do, and a lot of people in South India, they like to go as engineers to the US because it's a really good life. So there's a Visa Hanuman, or I'm not sure Visa who, but there's a Visa deity where you can go and worship that deity specifically to get a visa. And I mean, that is hardcore specialization in demigod worship, I think. I mean, in the Vedas, yes, there is some mention of different demigods who are in charge of different things. There is no Visa Hanuman there, at least. Oh, Visa Balaji. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you, Mataji. Visa Balaji, right? So see, there's a Visa Balaji there. So you worship the Balaji specifically for visa. um, if the US Council heard of it, I don't know what would happen to them. They'd fall off their chair. But but that specialization in demigod worship, and Krishna really is not a big fan of that, to be honest, because like I'm saying, if Krishna is as Lila Purushottam with his devotees, he is willing to reciprocate one-on-one. He expects the same from us as well. Krishna would like us to be completely surrendered only to him, and not also to have a few options, on the side. Saying, okay, so for my bhakti needs, I will go to Krishna, but then for my rain needs, I'll go to Indra, and then for my, visa needs, I'll go to this Visa Balaji and things like that. That doesn't really work in bhakti. Bhakti is all about single-pointed devotion. So anyways, so Krishna was making philosophical point that you don't need to worship demigods. And so he told this big assembly of these senior Gopals that we should worship Govardhan Hill. Now the Gopals didn't really understand Krishna's point. So if you read the commentaries of our acharyas on the Bhagavatam, you will see that the Gopals didn't really understand the point Krishna is making, because they were conditioned to worshipping, they were conditioned to worshipping Indra. They thought that this is how the system works. So they said, they were a little nervous. But then, out of love for Krishna, they said, okay, fine, we'll just do this. We'll do what Krishna says, because we love him so much and he's so wonderful. Let's just do what he says. It doesn't matter, what's the worst that can happen. And so they threw caution to the wind and they decided to do this Govardhan Puja instead of Indra Puja. And all these items that were made for Indra were then it was decided, okay, all these items will now be, utilized to worship Govardhan Hill. And so carts and cartfuls of all these different preparations, all these grains, all these puris, these halwas, these sweets, milk sweets. If you were to read our acharyas' commentaries and the songs of the Vaishnava acharyas, there are descriptions of all the various items. In fact, Surdas, in one of his pads, when he's talking about Govardhan Lila, he says there were so many items I'm not going to even try to describe them. And then he still does describe them in one verse. But fundamentally, before he describes it, there were so many wonderful items that I'm not even going to describe. So, so all these wonderful food items were taken to Govardhan Hill, and all these Gopas and Gopis dressed up in all their finery, and they went to Govardhan Hill, where then Krishna was the head Purohit for this Govardhan Puja. So the first Govardhan Puja was actually done by Krishna. He's the head Purohit for this puja. He says that, okay, we should worship the cows and we should worship Govardhan Hill, because our sustenance really depends on them. So how does one worship them? We will offer them bhog. We'll offer them all those wonderful preparations that are there. We will light lamps around them. We'll do arti, and then we will do parikrama around Govardhan Hill. So they went there and they left in the morning. They reached there by afternoon. At afternoon, they did a big lunch offering to Govardhan Hill, and it is said that Govardhan was. So there is offering. They did the parikrama of Govardhan Hill, and when all this is happening, and it is in fact described that they spent the entire night doing this parikrama, and they were talking, singing songs. They were describing Govardhan Hill. So it was a really wonderful time. They all had a very nice picnic puja situation going on, and that's when Indra realized that, okay, there's something wrong. My offerings from Vraj district haven't come in, and he was a little upset, of course, because like us, the demigods also are conditioned. They're under Krishna's Maya as well, so they like to believe that they're really in charge. Actually, Krishna is in charge, but Indra was under the impression that he's in charge of rain completely. And when he didn't get the offering, he was very upset, and he said, "You know what? I'm going to destroy this Vraj, because How are they so insolent that they're not making the offering that I am so entitled to getting? Something else to learn. All Krishna Lila is full of these very fine points of philosophy, which I really love. So uh, it's something to learn for us also, is that this sense of entitlement that we have, that, oh, I'm a Krishna Bhakt, I'm a devotee. So I'm entitled that Krishna should treat me nicely. I'm entitled that I should, that all these things that are happening in the world outside, that the material world is full of, should not happen to me because I'm Krishna's devotee. COVID should not happen to me because I'm Krishna's devotee. You know, this sense of entitlement that we have. For Krishna to completely protect us, for Krishna to be kind to us, is upon Krishna. But for us to have this sense of entitlement is not the best idea. And you see what happens to Indra, because Indra also has this sense of entitlement that, you know, I'm supposed to get this. This is my right. How am I not getting it? And so Indra decided that he's going to destroy Braj completely. Now, Indra only has one weapon, to be honest. He has the rain and the thunderbolt, because that's what he's in charge of. He can do a lot with it, but really that just shows how limited he is. So then it is described in Bhagavatam that he sent the clouds that are particularly reserved for pralaya. So when this material world is going to be destroyed, then Indra has a big role to play, because then it rains a lot. So he has a specific set of clouds he uses for the pralaya to happen. He sent those clouds to Braj, and he said, now you're going to rain, and you're going to completely drown all this Govardhan Hill, these cows, these insolent cowherd boys, the gopis, everybody who decided to listen to this young boy, including the young boy, have to be destroyed, because this is all just nonsense that's going on. And so it's described in Bhagavatam that the rain that was falling was as thick as columns. So imagine, like, it was raining so much, it was like pillars and pillars of rain were falling from the sky. I mean, it really, uh, it would make 2611 in Bombay look like a water park. It was that hectic, the rain, really really bad rain, and so all the gopas and the gopis, then they were very concerned, because it began to suddenly rain, and things began to flood. So they went straight to Krishna, and they said to Krishna, Krishna, you have to protect us now, because this rain is happening and you don't know what to do. That's a very good quality of the Brajavasis, actually. If you read the entire Bhagavad and you read Krishna Lila, you will see that anytime something happens, they're very single pointed in their devotion to Krishna. They're not confused. They're not the kind of people who will try to do something themselves and then come to Krishna. They come to Krishna straight away. And they've learned that Krishna is really the only way in which all this can be solved. So they come to Krishna, and Krishna says, okay, we will take care of this. No problem. And so Krishna lifts up Govardhan Hill on his left hand, like a very, very large umbrella. For those of you who will see Govardhan, you will realize that it is, Govardhan Hill is about 23 kilometers in circumference. So if you walk around Govardhan Hill, it's 23 kilometers. That is today. It is said that Govardhan Hill was much, much larger in the past. So the entire hill, like in the Bhagavatam, it is in fact described that like a child would pick up a mushroom. Krishna picked up Govardhan Hill like a child would pick up a mushroom. And then he lifted on his left hand, he lifted it up, and he said, okay, you can all now come under this Govardhan Hill, and nothing is going to happen to you. So all the gopas and the gopis and the cows and the bulls and the calves, everybody went under Govardhan Hill. And for 7 days and 7 nights, it rained continuously, and Krishna had Govardhan Hill up top on his finger. And, actually that became the biggest highlight of Govardhan Puja. And the Govardhan Puja itself was a big highlight, but a bigger highlight of Govardhan Puja was that for 7 days and 7 nights, continuously, everybody could look at Krishna's face, and Krishna could look at everybody. So on the outside, Indra is doing everything that he has. His entire ammunition of rain is now being used to drown Govardhan, to drown Braj. But nothing is happening, because they're all under Krishna's protection. It's like a very, very large umbrella. And by Krishna's touch, even Govardhan becomes like Krishna himself. So he's able to completely, protect everyone from this rain. And no matter what Indra does, Braj is completely safe. Nothing is happening. So after about 7 days and 7 nights, during which time the Gopas and the Gopis are enjoying themselves under the rain, they're talking to Krishna, and again there is a lot of detail that's in this Golden Lila which I'm not getting into. That's perhaps another class for another time. But for 7 days and 7 nights, there is this enjoyment happening. And it's like a festival, right? Because there's Krishna, the Gopis, the Gopas. There's a lot of bhog they've bought, so really there's no problem of food. So they're really just having a good time, under this 23-kilometer circumference area, and whatever is happening outside is happening. It doesn't really matter. After about 7 days, 7 nights, Indra begins to realize that I might have messed up a little bit. That some intelligence begins to come, because he says, okay, by this time, the entire material world would have been drowned and finished had it been a normal situation. But here I am using all that ammunition on one small area, and nothing has happened to anybody. Kisi ka baal bhi banka nahi hua hai. No one seems to even had a problem. Not even a Gopal's dhoti is wet. So he began to get a little nervous, because then he realized that I may have messed with the wrong person. This happened also in Kṛṣṇa Lila. This happens a few times, and it's fun to sort of, this realization moments in Bhagavatam are great fun to read. But so Indra realizes that, okay, I may have messed up, and so he decides that now might be a good time to stop raining and start considering an apology. But Indra is so embarrassed, because he's the king of heaven, that he doesn't even know what face to go with to Krishna. Kya muh leke jaun? Indra soch rahe hain, lekin he doesn't really know. And he also feels that he may not be forgiven, because when Brahma did this in the past, so there's a Leela that happened, which is known as the Brahma Vimohan Leela as well, which I think Vijayanath Prabhu should again talk about. When Brahma steals the cows and the cowherd boys. I'm not sure if you heard that pastime. But when Brahma comes to beg an apology from Krishna, Krishna basically ignores him. Krishna doesn't accept the apology. Krishna just ignores him. And Indra knows that I don't want to do that situation. I don't want to be ignored by Krishna. I want my apology to be accepted. And very intelligently, in the heavenly planets, there is a cow whose name is Surabhi. So this Surabhi cow, she represents, she's like the mother of all the demigods. So every time the demigods, need support, they need some sort of, sustenance, they go to Surabhi. Surabhi is the cow in the spiritual world. So Indra goes to Surabhi cow and he tells her that, Mother Surabhi, I have really messed up. I have angered Krishna, I think, because I have rained on Braj. And I want to take an apology, but I don't know main kis muh se jaun. Will you please come with me to apologize to Krishna? And because you're a cow and Krishna is, Gopal, he's the caretaker of the cows, maybe he will listen to you. So Surabhi cow is all merciful, she agrees. And so Indra comes with Surabhi to Govardhan Hill. By now the rain is gone, Krishna put Govardhan down. The big Govardhan Puja festival continues after 7 days. So then Krishna and Surabhi comes. And Surabhi comes and she tells Krishna that, Indra is very embarrassed that he has done this, and he is very apologetic, and so he has come with me. So will you please, accept his apology? And then Surabhi said, actually, Indra is not even really king. It's just, he's supposed to be the king of heavenly planets. But it's important to note that the word Indra, it's not a name, it's a position, it's a seat, it's a padavi, it's like prime minister. Indra is not his name, it is his position. So Surabhi tells Krishna that actually, he's not really even Indra. He's not our Indra, at least. Surabhi is a cow, right? So she's speaking on behalf of all the cows and all the cowherds. She's telling Krishna that actually you are our Indra. You are our king. And you're actually Go Indra. You're the Indra of the cows and the cowherd men. And from that Go Indra, Krishna's name also became Govinda. So Surabhi sort of gave Krishna that nickname also. She said, "You're actually Govinda. You're the king of of the cows and of our senses, and therefore, please forgive Indra. And it doesn't really matter. He's a nobody really. He's not even Indra. So that place where this happens, that is known as Surabhi Kund. So if you go to Braj today, you will also find Surabhi Kund on the Parikrama path, and Surabhi Kund is very important because it is said that because Krishna's heart was softened there by the cow, and because of Surabhi cow's apology to Krishna on behalf of Indra, Indra was forgiven this aparad of even trying to harm the Brajavasis. Similarly, if we have done any aparad towards the devotees, if there is any Vaishnava aparad that we've done, any aparad we've done towards Krishna's devotees, if you go to Surabhi Kund, that is the place where we can beg forgiveness. Because Krishna specifically is in the mood at Surabhi Kund where he is forgiving people. So that Kund, that area is very powerful. So Surabhi Kund is there. And then Indra finally sheepishly comes in front of Krishna and says, I'm really sorry, my lord. Let me please worship you. So then at a place nearby, all the demigods come. Indra invites all the demigods, and then Krishna is, they make Krishna sit on a throne, and they do his abhishek, and they worship him, and Indra also says that my lord, you are actually the true Indra, and I am a nobody, and so all the demigods are worshipping. They do circumambulation, they do parikrama of Krishna, and that Charnamrit of that abhishek gets formed into another kund, which is known as Govind Kund. So there is Surabhi Kund and there is Govind Kund nearby, and these are the places where. And at Govind Kund, there is a very beautiful mandir of Giridhari, where Krishna is in this beautiful black form, where he's holding up Govardhan Hill. Very, very beautiful. So when you go to Vṛndāvana, please take darshan of Govind Kund and of Giridhari at Govind Kund as well. And that pastime happened. And then when the demigods went, the cowherd boys came there. And the cowherd boys just saw Krishna sitting there, and they saw all this paraphernalia lying there, all this golden arti plate, arti lamp, chamar is there is offerings. And they say, what's going on here? And they began to play with it. And in play, they also worship Krishna. And then that's when Krishna is really happy because, honestly speaking, Krishna doesn't really care about what's going on with Krishna has this potency where he's created the material universe and it's going on, and the demigods are there, and Krishna accepts their worship. He accepts their worship. But with the devotees, with the Brajavasis, Krishna accepts their love. And that is far more beautiful than it is to accept worship. To accept love is far, far more beautiful. So when the Gopas began to worship Krishna as Govinda, that was a very loving pastime. So Krishna also sort of accepted that service, that playful. And then actually, you must remember that when these Gopas are worshipping Krishna, they're not truly worshipping him. They're almost mocking him. That this is Govinda, let's worship him, let's worship him. It's not that there is no awe and reverence there. There is in fact some sort of, there is love, there is affection, but there is also some sort of leg pulling that is happening. So, Krishna has this one friend who is from a Brahmin family. His name is Madhumangal. So Madhumangal decides to become the Purohit of this Govind Puja that they do with the paraphernalia left over by the demigods. And then they do this play puja that happens also. So Govind Kund is very special because all these wonderful pastimes happens there. And Surabhi Kund, Krishna is forgiving offenses because of Surabhi's mercy. But at Govind Kund, Krishna is accepting us. Is accepting for all those of us who want Krishna to be our king, the king of our senses. The word go means cow, but the word go also means senses. So for all of us who want Krishna to be the king of our senses, we want Krishna to be the object of our senses, and everything that we see, hear, do, touch should be Krishna and Krishna alone. Govind Kund is a great place to go pray for this benediction also, and to sort of associate with that mood of Krishna, where he's all the devotees king. So that's Govind Kund as well. So Surabhi Kund, Govind Kund, and then that's really the Govardhan Puja pastime in a nutshell. It's a really wonderful pastime, and I would really, really urge all the devotees to please read Krishna book, read Bhagavatam, because I have tried to describe it, but it's far, far more beautiful and far more detailed in the Bhagavad. So please read that. But yeah, but that's Govardhan Puja really. And then, uh, so after this entire pastime happens, then Govardhan decides that okay, now Krishna then becomes Govardhan because he wants to now also show everyone that Indra got angry and he began to try to drown us. But look at how merciful Govardhan is. So Krishna then becomes Govardhan Hill himself, and then he began to eat the offerings. So as many offerings there are, Krishna, Govardhan keeps sort of eating these offerings, and they run out of offerings. So then Govardhan keeps eating, and he keeps saying Aniyor, Aniyor, Aniyor. He keeps saying bring more. So in Brajavasha, Aniyor means bring more. So he's saying bring more, bring more, bring more. And the Gopal and the gopis, they're bringing more offerings. And then they begin to get nervous because they will run out of offerings. So finally, someone decides, oh, we should put Tulsi leaf because this is Vishnu. Krishna said in the beginning that this is Vishnu, he's the maintainer. So someone remembers, so they decide to put a Tulsi leaf on the offering. And then when the Tulsi leaf offering comes to Govardhan Giriraj, he is satisfied. And everyone then gets to eat the Mahaprasad as well. So Govardhan Puja is a very wonderful festival. It has many, many different moods to it, and it is celebrated on the day after Diwali. The festival is also known as Annakut. So the way we celebrate. So I told you we'd understand what is the pastime behind it, how is it celebrated today. How it is celebrated today is that it's really an eating festival. So for all those who are doing Kartik Vrat also, people are trying to fast in Kartik month, and they're trying to do these austerities. Some people will eat only fruit. Some people will eat only once. A lot of people also lose a lot of weight during Kartik month. It's a really great thing. But on Govardhan Puja Day, we suspend all those austerities because Govardhan Puja Day is the day you eat. So the festival known as Annakut Day. It is one of those few festivals in the Gaudiya Vaishnava calendar that we don't have to fast. We have a lot of fasting days. If you look at any ISKCON calendar, you pick it up, you'll see fasting till noon, fasting till midnight, fasting till dusk. This is the one festival when there is no fasting. So all the devotees, we come together on Annakut Day and we cook many, many offerings for Giriraj Govardhan. We cook different sweet items. We cook savory items, dry items, everything that's possible that you can imagine. We cook. We spend the entire morning like that. In fact, in our temple and in our home also, our Govardhan Puja preparations start literally from Ekadashi onwards. Because Ekadashi onward, you start making the dry items, and then the next day you make sweets on Dwadashi day, and then so on and so forth. There's a whole system where you just really start cooking from now. So a lot of the dry items will last, and then the wet items you cook on the last day. So you spend our time cooking and thinking about Krishna, and you think about Krishna eating these offerings. You cook them wonderfully, and then on Annakut Day, there's also Go Puja that happens. So in a lot of temples, actually, there's a ceremony which is this happens in Vṛndāvana temple specifically. It's called Kanjagai. So Kanjagai is a festival where the cow is invited to come for Govardhan Puja also. So on Govardhan Puja Day, the cow is worshipped and Govardhan is worshipped. So the items are cooked, and then one day before, on Diwali night, Diwali evening, generally what the Brajavasis will do, or what Vrindavan temples will do, is either they will send someone, or the cow and the calf will be invited to the temple, and basically on behalf of Krishna, an invitation is going to the cow that please come for Govardhan Puja so Krishna may worship you. So in some temples, in fact, the deity actually comes out of the temple onto the courtyard where the cow comes, and then on behalf of the deity, some bhog is given to the cow, some good laddus, etc. are given to the cow, and in their ear an invitation is given by the pujari. Typically, it is done by the head pujari of the temple. He will invite the cow to come to attend the worship of Govardhan Hill. So that happens on Diwali evening. And on Govardhan Puja morning, we do Go Puja. We start the day with Go Puja. And then by afternoon, what we do is we create a big hill of all these wonderful items. It is not Annakut. So basically, typically it is grains, so rice or halwa or whatever. I mean, you make a very big hill that resembles Govardhan Hill. And it is a big mountain of offerings that are offered to Giriraj Govardhan. And after that, the devotees then do arati to Govardhan Hill, and then they do parikrama. Just like what happened in Raj, we do that. And that is celebrated on Anakut day. And then the devotees, after that, after they've done the arati and after they've done the parikrama, we have a great big feast. So that's Annakut festival, and that's a really wonderful festival of Govardhan Puja that we do. This year we're celebrating on the 5th. So if those of you who are not able to be in Braj for that festival, please come to the temple. And you can contact me and I'll make sure that at least some Mahaprasad is given to you. If it's a very crowded festival, so a lot of devotees and therefore not that much Mahaprasad to go around, but call me and I'll try to make some arrangements. But please do come. It's a very beautiful festival. The temple is decorated very nicely, and in the temple courtyard we have a very big Annakut. A lot of devotees, if they cannot cook, on this day they offer grains also. So they will, typically sponsor rice or wheat or whatever for temples so that it may be cooked and then distributed. In Braj, where there is, in these temples, a lot of prasadam is distributed all across Braj. On Govardhan Puja day as the mercy of Giriraj Govardhan. So really that's Govardhan Puja, and because we're now only 17 minutes out, I think I'll quickly walk through the other festivals. That's Govardhan Puja, and then after Govardhan Puja, right after, is a festival that in ISKCON we celebrate very greatly, which is the disappearance of Srila Prabhupada. So this was the day that our founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada, ended his earthly pastimes, and he went back to Golok Vṛndāvana, and that happened also in Vṛndāvana. So for those of you who are going, please spend some time in Srila Prabhupada's room, where even to his very last breath he was translating Srimad Bhagavatam, and he departed from this world. That's celebrated on Sunday this year, if I'm not wrong. Sunday is Prabhupada's disappearance day, so that's there. Is that right? It's Sunday, no, Vijayanath Prabhu, or is it Monday?
It's, I think, on the 8th.
8th.
It should be, yeah. I think
So,
it should be on Monday, not Sunday.
Monday, yeah, that's what I thought. It's Monday. Okay, so that's there, and then after this, there's another wonderful festival that is celebrated, which is called Gopashtami Day. I wanted to describe the Gopashtami pastime, but I think it's a pastime that deserves its own space. But this is fundamentally the day on which Kṛṣṇa, in the cowherd community, every community has their own coming of age rituals. In the cowherding community, in Kṛṣṇa's community, if you come of age when you stop taking out the calves and you begin to take out the cows for herding instead. Because you're now grown up enough to take care of the cows and take them farther off into the forest and take care of them and protect them. So on Gopashtami Day is the day that pastime is celebrated, when Kṛṣṇa comes of age. So we celebrate that as well. And we have a very big festival in Bombay. We have this farm in Talasari where all the devotees go and we do Go Puja. Another wonderful festival. So Gopashtami is that day. And then we draw to a close with the Purnima. So there's then Gopashtami ke baad there's Ekadashi again. And this is an Ekadashi that actually celebrated across the world. In fact, so whether you're in ISKCON or not, Vaishnava or not, this is called the Big Ekadashi, which everyone celebrates. So a lot of communities across, fast because it's the Kartik Ekadashi. It's a very, very auspicious Ekadashi. And then after that, there is the Kartik Purnima. So like we celebrate Sharad Purnima, typically in Vṛndāvana, Sharad Purnima, the Rasa dance is celebrated on the first day of Kartik. But in some Bengali cultures and some other Vaishnava cultures, the last day of Kartik is celebrated as the Ras Purnima day. So that is marked as the last day of Kartik. The last 5 days of Kartik are considered specially favorable to bhakti. It's called the Bhishma Panchaka. So a lot of devotees who cannot fast throughout Kartik or who cannot do any austerity throughout Kartik, those last 5 days, they will be more specific with their fasting. They'll be more careful. They will eat less. They will chant more. They will focus more on bhakti. And then on Ras Purnima evening, after you do Deepdan, after we offer the lamp, then we sort of break that fast and we sort of, we bid farewell to Kartik month, and then we enter into the winter pastimes of Krishna. So these pastimes of Kartik month are also especially important because in Vraj, um, this Kartik month is the autumn month. It is the last month when people are actually spending a lot of time outdoors. Krishna can meet the gopis. Krishna can meet his friends outside. Once Kartik sort of ends, and if you'll realize it gets much colder in Vraj. And when it begins to get much colder, people don't step out that much. So in Vraj Lila, and this pastime was happening, this Kartik month, a lot of going out and a lot of outdoorsy activities happened because then after the next 3 months, Krishna really stays indoors because Mother Yashoda doesn't want him to go out too much. And the gopis also stay indoors and everyone's sort of more indoors. A lot of outdoor pastimes aren't happening. So if you look at the Vaishnav calendar also, you will realize that after Kartik, somehow there's a bit of a lull till about January or so. January, February, there's a bit of a lull. And the next big festival is actually just Holi. So because of that lull period that happens, this Kartik month is even more special because we want to get as much of Krishna's association as we can. So it's a really great month. It's a month that we can get closer to Krishna. It's a month we should, where Krishna has chosen to do a lot of pastimes with devotees. And we should take the time to really get to know Krishna better, to get to associate with him better, to become more sincere in our devotion to him. And hopefully Krishna will also reciprocate with us like he has done with the Brajavasis, with the gopis, with the gopas, with the cows. Let us offer ourselves to Krishna completely in this month. And always, of course, but more specifically, let's do that in this month. And we shall hope that Krishna will reciprocate with us also. Not feel entitled, but one can always hope for Krishna's mercy. So I think that's all I have for today. It's a little disorganized class, but I think just so much to say that I was having trouble, I think, picking and choosing what I wanted to say and what I could leave for later. Any questions? Any comments, clarifications, anything?
So just to add one small piece of information while people are thinking of some questions. So I was reading somewhere that Govardhan, like one of the Acharya's descriptions. So just by Krishna's touch, Krishna actually, in the left hand little finger, just by Krishna's touch, Govardhan was feeling so much ecstasy that outside Indra was throwing thunderbolts and columns of rain. He did not feel anything. And in that ecstasy, so another Acharya describing, in that ecstasy, Govardhan, just like when we are in ecstasy, our hair stands, we are elated. So Govardhan was so elated that it was actually Krishna digging his finger inside and like a hook to hold
Yeah.
Govardhan back. Otherwise, it would have floated much higher in the air. So that's one. And I think there was this Rishi. This is an entire other pastime where Parvati was serving Agastya Rishi, and Lord Vishnu had to come because everything was getting empty. She was feeding him, but he was going on and on by his yogic mystic power. He was on and on eating. So Lord Vishnu came to save the situation, and it's like as a custom that when one person finishes eating, the other person has to stop. Therefore, there is this whole temple. I think you remember Dauji temple, where everyone
No,
sits.
this is Ramanreti. Ramanreti.
Ramanreti, not Dauji, right? Everyone sits together, and once one person gets up, then everyone serving stops. So,
Yeah.
so basically, Lord Vishnu or Krishna played that role, and he stopped. Rishi also had to stop, and
Out of etiquette.
he was very very angry. Like because of you, I had to stop. I still had to eat so much. So ठीक है अभी पानी तो पिला दो कम से कम खाना रुकवा दिया. So he said, okay, I'll do this pastime. That time you drink the water. So during this Samarthak clouds when they were pouring rain, Agastya Rishi was drinking the water. So nothing got flooded. Also, I mean, it is said that there was Sudarshan on top, which was drying up the entire rain that was happening. So just some
Yeah.
details I remembered.
Yeah, but this Govardhan Puja pastime actually is a really, I mean, it could be a PhD in and of itself because there is so much that's happening in this Leela. Because I mean, now Acharyas have written prolifically on it. If you were to actually delve into these pastimes, and I think maybe Harivasha too should do another class specifically on Govardhan Lila because he is so you know well versed with commentaries of Shastras. I mean, if you read Hari Sauriji's commentary, or if you read Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, if you read other Gauriya Acharyas, you'll realize that they have really delved into these very, very fine points. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, actually. So if you read all their commentaries on the Srimad Bhagavatam and Govardhan Puja, it's a really, it's amazing, actually. It's one of Krishna's most wonderful pastimes. Actually, all of Krishna's pastimes are wonderful. There's really no, uh, I think this particular pastime, because it doesn't involve fasting, I particularly like it very much.
I think you must have read, the recent, he shared Hari Parshattu on Vṛndāvana itself.
Yeah.
You want to talk about it? Okay. So
We're
Krishna,
short on time.
okay. Just in one line, so Krishna basically, as a child, Leela, he's thinking that, Mother Yashoda has tied me. All the devotees in Kali Yuga are laughing at me.
Yeah.
So, just like, there is jealousy or, when people are making fun of you, you don't like it. So Krishna, out of that, he cursed his devotees in Kali Yuga. He's saying, devotees in Kali Yuga are laughing on me because, of my condition. So I cursed them that, Mother Yashoda left me without, feeding me milk. They will also not be fed by their mothers with milk. So basically, that curse is nothing but a benediction that they won't have to take birth again, so that they get the chance to drink mother's milk again.
Yeah. So no question. I think that's a good thing. Either no one has heard the lecture, which is all right, or everyone has understood so well that there are no questions.
No, I started speaking in between. I guess there would be some questions or reflections. Anyone? Anyone has any questions or any reflections? What you really loved about the class you're taking back home?
I think people are concerned about Diwali cleaning at this point, which other food. So one weekend before Diwali, everyone is preoccupied thoda sa.
Okay, there is Reshma Mataji saying thank you for sharing stories beautifully. And
I would urge everyone to read Krishna book because it is way, way more beautiful in that. But okay,
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you for a wonderful session. My internet connection was not well, so I was being on and off. But whatever I could hear was wonderful to hear. I was just transported back to the pastimes of Lord. One question that comes to my mind when I think about Kartik month, and I've like many people have asked me also, but personally I have never gotten an answer to this, is behind the waking up of Lord and sleeping of Lord. Like there are notions that when Kartik months end, Lord wakes up. So I don't know really about it, but I've heard from people. So anything
So
that,
are you talking about Dev Shayani and Dev Uthani Kadsi? Is that the reference you're having?
yeah, maybe it's regarding that, because whenever I'm asked regarding Kartik month, there's a notion that lords wake up and lord sleeps. So
Yeah.
is there,
So it's a popular and this is from the Vedic culture. In fact, that's why the Ekadashi is called. Uh, so in traditional cultures and Raj culture also, it is called the Dev Shayani Ekadashi and the Dev Uthani Ekadashi. That during this time the demigods are actually resting. They're taking some rest. So that is true. And because there are a lot of people, will uh, they would celebrate the Ekadashis in a much bigger way. So that does happen. I'm not sure of the exact detail on it myself, but I can find out the right sort of resource and share it with you. Vijay Prabhu, do you know about the exact pastime around Dev Shayani and Dev Uthani Ekadashi?
no, I think okay. What I know is our calculation 6 months is 12 hours for demigods. So
Yeah.
I think from what is it? 14 Jan, Makar Sankranti is when the demigods before Makar Sankranti, the demigods basically rise, and that's the daytime when the daytime starts, and I think somewhere in middle, uh, maybe after July or August, that they go to Shayan. Is what I understood. So that's 6 months, 12 hours period for demigods. That's their day, and then their night is the rest of the year. So that's how it's divided. So yeah, when they go to sleep, that's Shayan. When they get up, that's what it is.
Yeah,
Right.
thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay. I think should we close for now, Vijay Prabhu?
Sure, if there are no more questions or reflections, we can stop here. So thank you so much, Prabhu, and let's show our gratitude. Not be ungrateful. Show our gratitude for such a wonderful class by loudly chanting Hare Krishna once more. Unmute. Everyone can unmute. Hare Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna, Hare
Krishna, Hare
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Ram,
Hare
Hare Ram,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Ram,
Hare
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 Ram,
Ram,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Ram,
Hare
Hare
Ram,
Ram, Hare
Hare Hare.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare
Thank you.
Krishna.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, Prabhuji.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak Krishna Lila. One of my favorite topics. Thank you.
Thank you for your association, Prabhuji.